周末聚会、谈天说地、纵古论今的场所，是文人墨客交流研讨的论坛。我们集思广益，讨论大家共同关心的事物话题。我们将漫谈文化、评说风俗，解析社会脏痞人物。欢迎大家的参与，一起来建设我们共同的精神家园。我们今天的这个讨论的题目这个大家都看到，我们今天的题目呢是把脉中国半导体产业。因为前一段时间呢，就是跟着这个中兴公司这个被美国商业部制裁7年禁运，这开始了以后呢，现在呢，中国的这个半导体产业围绕着中国芯片，最后呢产生了各种各样的这个问题，最后被揭示出来。然后围绕着它呢，也是人人志士能人志士呢，大家都有各种各样的想法，各种各样的这个思路。所以呢，今天呢，我们非常有幸我们请3位真正的专家来替我们呢一起来探讨中国的这个半导体发展的一个路径在什么地方，这个迷思在什么地方。因为我们前一段时间我们大家都知道为了发展半导体，这个中国国家主席习近平呢专门提说，我们要把这个自主产权呢要拿在自己手里，关系到国家命脉的东西一定要拿在自己手里。所以呢，中国政府的配套呢是几千亿这个配套资金就下去了。但是呢，这个随之而来的就很多的企业家，包括像格力空调呢，这个也是要做这个自主知识产权的这个芯片的开发。但是呢，与此同时呢，像一些学界，像包括这个吴敬琏这样的经济学者就提到说，在过去3年当中推出来的4000亿的这个发展中国芯片的这个配套资金呢，其实管理的并不好，做收效也并不好。所以呢，到底应该怎么做？那我们待会儿听我们的专家们来点评。那我现在呢，今天呢，非常荣幸能够邀请到Rose Wang来替我们呢来做今天的这个主持。Rose 呢花了很多的时间跟我们2位专家呢做了这个很多的这个磨合和这个帮他们来整理。因为我们待会儿呢我们其中1位专家呢是只讲英文，所以呢还需要很多的这个磨合的工作那我先呢给 Rose 呢一个简短的一个介绍。一个呢是 Rose 呢是咱们 DC 那著名的这个女企业家，她所创办的这个 IT 企业 Binary Group 在激烈竞争的 IT 市场上是一致，为包括美国政府在内的客户提供了很多卓有成效的解决方案。Rose 是90年从北京来到美国，在这之前我们俩是同学，我也赶紧沾沾光。所以毕业后呢，曾在硅谷的 Lighthouse Design 软件公司任职，之后创办了自己的 IT 服务公司，并与包括 MCI、Fannie Mae、Spirit 等世界500强企业建立了稳定的合作关系。Binary Group 在其18年的历史中多次被同业评为能为客户提供完美解决方案的优秀企业。Rose 呢也被《财富》杂志评为2013年度最有影响力的女企业家。目前，她是多个企业和 NGO 的理事，并连续2届被提名为全美妇女商业理事会理事。这个机构呢是专门为美国总统、国会和 SBI 提供第三方解决方案，第三方专家意见。所以呢，我就把这个话筒交给 Rose。
谢谢了 Henry. Welcome everyone. So I will be the translator and moderator today. We're very happy to have everyone here. We have a nice mix of Chinese and Americans. I think we also have our audience on Facebook Live. So I will start with English and then translate to Chinese, or sometimes I'll do Chinese and English. 刚才那个 Henry 给我们介绍了我们今天的节目，因为是要双语讲，所以我会2边都会帮着翻译一下。 the panel today is about Chinese semiconductor industry. And we are very, very fortunate to have two experts, truly two experts. So if I may have Amr and Frank come to the front so I can introduce the two of you to our audience. Please. You guys can take a seat, and I'll hand the mic to one at a time, and then when we do the panel discussion, it'll be interesting because it'll be the first time I'm doing it between two English speakers, but with a global audience of English and Chinese speakers. So the panel today is about the Chinese semiconductor industry. And to my right is Dr. Amr Atrash. He has a PhD from Georgia Tech. And under his name, in EE, electrical engineering, he has in his name about 20 patents in semiconductor industry. And he's a founder or co-founder of a company called Triune Systems, which is a fabless design firm that he co-founded and sold very successfully to Semtech. He's truly an insider to semiconductor industry. To his right is Frank Li Wencheng. He is also an expert in this industry from a little different perspective. His background is in satellite communications, over 20 years of professional experience with a master's in electronics and communications. And so, in effect, he has been a user or a buyer of semiconductor. So vendors work with him. So we're going to have a very good 360-degree view. 全方位的来看中国半导体产业的这些情况. So with that, the first presentation, we're going to do two presentations. The first presentation is from Amr, Dr. Atrash. He will present a overview of the Chinese semiconductor industry, and then we'll hand over the mic to Frank, who will really describe the real issue, the feasibility of what appears to be a national government sponsored approach to building this industry, and whether or not that's feasible, how long it will take, and how we all can help to build that industry. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Al.
Thank you, Liz.
So I need to run this? Hang on.
Amr, you have that. You have that.
Okay. I'm going to do this. I will be the driver. Right?
Go up. No. Selection.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead, Amr.
Okay, thank you for the introduction.
Move it up.
Yeah, as Rose said, I'm going to try to give you an overview of where the semiconductor industry is today, and specifically where China is in this industry, and some of the history and characteristics of how it's structured, so that you can understand, when we go to our panel conversation, some of the nuances of why we may feel that there's some issues meeting these goals.
Okay. 他现在做一个宏观的介绍，然后这样的话，我们做到这个讨论的时候，大家会有一个就是基本的概念。So
Have to turn yours off. It's fine.
Okay, that's better.
Okay, thank you. So first, for those of us who aren't very familiar with the industry, I just want to talk briefly about the types of products that we're talking about here. And really, so semiconductors are the chips that drive the consumer electronics that we're all very familiar with. So if you were to start with, say, a cell phone, which is a typical type product, if you open it up, we've got a board with all of these different chips in it, and each one of these is a different product. So typical content can be anywhere from a few to dozens of parts, depending on what we're building and what you want it to do. So these come from wafers that we build in fabs, and generally they're these big platters that get diced up into individual chips. So again, this is an important industry. It's very ubiquitous. We have content in pretty much everything we buy now, and as we'll see shortly, the origin of it and the consumption of it are very different.
这个就是基本上的一个科普哈，从这个集成电路就是芯片，然后呢把芯片集成起来以后变成半导体。现在就是社会里面我们用的日常用的很多东西都会有很多半导体在里面。
So what is the value chain for it really?
No way.
You're going the wrong way.
This is
Yeah. So briefly, I want to go through sort of the process about where these come from. So any product, of course, starts with design, generally all electronic. Then from there, we move to manufacturing in very specialized factories. Again, these factories have a very broad range of technologies, and when you hear people talk about them, they generally refer to the geometry size or the state of how advanced that factory is. After that, we go through an assembly process where the wafers are cut up into individual chips and put in plastic packaging, and finally it gets put into our end product. Each of these steps can happen in a completely different location, anywhere in the world. Frank will get into some more detail on this later. And then in addition, we have a big software component that gets layered in here to where every product has quite a high content mix of hardware and software.
这个是电子业的这个价值链，从一开始做设计到生产，生产的这步呢，就会很多我们听到10几纳米、20纳米、几纳米那些，到底有多大的那个生产线里面的那个晶体有多大，是在这个方面。然后是组装，组装以后变成最后的产品，这中间就会加很多软件。加进去，这个每一步骤呢都是可以在不同的世界地理位置做。这个 Frank 在讲的时候，他会更多讲一下全球的产业链。
So again, we can even look at this industry sort of vertically and try to see how big it really is. If we look at electronic systems, this is actually $1.5 trillion worldwide. The semiconductor portion of it's more than 400 billion. And of that foundry, which is the factories, more than 40 billion right now, software nearly 5, and then the tools to build chips is more than $10 billion industry. All of these are growing at a pretty fast rate, typically double digits, more than 10% a year.
这也是一个很宏观的一个介绍啊。从这个半导体，你看中间第4步是半导体，一共是4000亿左右，那么变成这个电子系统以后就变得更大。I think that's a mistake. 1.5 trillion. Yeah， 是万亿，15000亿。有一个错误，其他的这些都是一步一步扣一环进去。
And again, where are semiconductors used? And really, it's pretty much everything we consume. Most of them end up in communication devices. So that would be cellular phones and the infrastructure that drives them. Another big chunk, PCs, computers, and then other consumer products. But in addition, automotive, which still consumes more than 10% of the industry, is again a $50 billion a year business. And then industrial and government applications are another nearly 14%. So if you think about the applications of this, they're far and wide, right? Every industry nearly that we touch every day has some content from semiconductors.
你可以从这张上看，这是2016年的全球的半导体市场，那时候还不到4000亿，通信方面占了不到1/3，电脑又差不多不到1/3，然后各种工业和政府行业用了差不多14%，还有消费产品，还有 汽车，这都是很大，每一块都是很大。
So if we look at just the semiconductor content, so for an industry that is less than 60 years old, has grown to be more than $400 billion a year. And the rate of growth here, again, is more than 10% a year, not really showing any signs of slowing, and in fact, it's probably expected to accelerate as the worldwide demand for electronics and we open up new markets in developing countries. We do expect this to continue growing at least this rate into the foreseeable future.
这个世界半导体市场还不到60年，一共才50几年，每年你看都是基本上是线性增长，一年比头一年的增长率差不多10%，而且这个速度还在提高。2018年已经到了4000亿，2019年预计还要增长10%。
So where does this all come from? And historically, and up till today, this industry is dominated by the U.S. It was practically conceived of the iconic Silicon Valley industry, and they still basically set the standard worldwide for cutting-edge technology for semiconductors. Following that is Korea, Japan, Taiwan, and EU, but China is lagging behind here and still produces only about 5% of semiconductors worldwide.
从历史的角度来说，美国是一直是领先半导体行业的，所以硅谷的名字也是如此而来。到今天为止，美国基本上是制造全世界用的50%的半导体，其他的是南韩、日本、台湾也是占了很大一部分，欧盟，然后中国呢现在已经可以达到制造量可以达到5%，这也是整个这个世界的今天的格局。
But then what happens, right, is our U.S. manufactures more than half of the semiconductors in the world, but China consumes 60%.